Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to my live. This is me, Sonia Killik. So glad that you could join. If you are joining live or watching the recording on YouTube, a huge welcome to you as well. I'm trying, every week I say to myself, aha, I'm not going to complain about technology. And then I do. However, I managed to get my poll active. No, I didn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So really excited about today's topic, which is part 2 of fantasy versus reality and where are you living? Now, the reason I decided to revisit this really important topic is because back in 2019, I did a video with the same title, and it got a really large amount of views, still getting views, and quite a few interesting comments. And I realized that this is an issue that many people face in their lives, right? This constant push-pull that we find ourselves in between this really harsh reality that very few of us actually like and are comfortable in, versus this amazing world of fantasy where we are powerful and successful and coping and fulfilling everything that we set ourselves, that we want to set out for ourselves. So a couple of the comments on the 2019 video, which I wanted to share with you, is reality is cruel. I just can't get out of my own head. Reality sucks. And I wish I could accept reality, but it hurts too much. Now, I know that all of us can relate to these comments, and we've all experienced this within our lives. And the thing about fantasy is that it affects everything, right? It affects our relationships, our goals, our health, our history, our future. It really does. It's like a constant companion in our life. And it can be really powerful, and it can be an incredible tool. But if it overtakes us, right, if we feel safer living our lives in fantasy than we do in reality, then it's pretty dangerous, and it really limits us. And I can completely and utterly understand. Sorry, guys, I just got a notice saying I need to close other programs on my computer because my live stream is going slow. I'm sorry about this. I normally keep all my programs closed, but today I am multitasking as usual. All right, sorry about that, guys. So where was I? All right, me relating to this whole fantasy versus reality thing. So growing up, I lived probably realistically, conservatively, probably 80% of my life in fantasy, right? Reality was an unattainable place for me. It was, I viewed it as, I couldn't relate to it. Everything I viewed in other people and cultures and religion and everything, the reality that I found myself living in was completely alien to me, right? And because I hadn't developed the coping mechanisms yet that I needed in life, fantasy was my go-to place, right? I read fantasy books. I spent endless amount of time living within my own imagination. So I would be having conversations with people, and in the background, there was an entire different world that was going on. And what happened was I identified more with this version of myself that I had imagined than I did with reality. And over time, this severely limited my social skills, my ability to navigate all of life's challenges. It was really difficult for me. And I realized that this was something that I really needed to change. And I set out to do that. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is that I understand from a personal point of view, and I understand with the work that I do with my clients, how seductive fantasy can be, right? The problem is that when we spend more time in fantasy and when we avoid reality, what we're really doing is we are avoiding confronting action. Okay, I'm going to say that again. We are avoiding confronting action because it's not actually the reality that we're retreating from or that we're fearful from. It's the action that we have to take in order to meet our reality. And that's where we get stopped. That's where we get intimidated. That's where we doubt ourselves, because the action that we need to take requires us to get out of our comfort zone. It requires us to do things we are uncomfortable with, right? It could be having uncomfortable conversations. It could be admitting that we aren't coping in certain areas of our life. Most importantly, that avoidance of action is about change. Because if we accept reality for how it is, that means we are probably going to have to change something, right? And it's so much easier to live in this fantasy world of hope, because at the end of the day, that's what fantasy really is. I hope things are going to improve without me actually having to confront it and do it and actually change it, right? So I hope my health will last or will improve without me having to change my diet or go exercise. I hope my relationships will get better or will manifest without me having to actually go through the pain of change. I hope my finances will improve without me having to work longer hours or upskill or try a completely new industry or career, right? So it's a more comfortable and a more safer place to be in fantasy. Because when we are in fantasy, we are powerful, we are knowledgeable, we take action fearlessly, right? We have those conversations that we never really got a chance or we were too fearful to have. We are succeeding, right? And it's a great place to be, and I get it. And fantasy has its place, right? Because we need to go into fantasy to be creative, right? We can go into our imaginations when we need to problem solve, when we need to create new options for ourselves, new opportunities for ourselves. The problem is that if we don't then get back out of our imagination, out of our fantasy, then all of that thinking power and that creative power goes nowhere, right? So we can't use that insight and that wisdom and that creativity that we've gained from fantasy, okay, if A, we don't have a realistic plan to work from. And if we're avoiding the truth of our own reality, then we don't know what the ingredients are that we have, right? We've avoided the truth of our reality, therefore, we don't really know how to change it. We can't really make effective solutions. We can't take effective action. We can't really move ourselves forward because we have avoided looking at all the facts or the reality that life is presenting to us. And B, most importantly, we can't apply it into our lives, right? Because we haven't taken any action in the material world. Now, the good thing about reality is that it is both subjective and reflective, okay? So with reality being subjective, it means that us as a subject, it is determined on who is viewing it, right? The perspective that you have. And because it is subjective, that means that it is impermeable, right? It will change according to our perspective. So the questions you have to ask yourself is, what part of your reality are you buying into? Are you believing that is negatively impacting your ability to be present and to take ownership of your life? So last week during the live, I spoke about that negativity bias, right? We were chatting about chasing happiness versus contentment, and how as humans, we are pre-programmed to believe negativity over positivity, okay? The negativity bias. So if you're finding your reality intolerable, painful, abrasive, overwhelming, dominating, right? If you are just retreating from your own reality, then you have to ask yourself, what part of that reality are you buying into? Are you buying into the idea that you are powerless, that you lack options, that you cannot take action, that you are less capable than you really are? Okay, so ask yourself that question. It's a really empowering first step. What part of reality are you buying into? And the second part that I mentioned about reality being reflective is that it reflects back to us what we make it to be. Okay, and that's where our power is. And I know that that is intimidating in itself, because the reason that we're retreating from reality in the first place is that we believe ourselves to be powerless. We don't want to confront the things that we perhaps need to. And if we understand that reality is reflective, meaning it will reflect back to us what it is that we are giving to us, we have to step up. We have to take ownership. We have to take accountability. And so we kind of get stuck in the cycle, and we go into our imagination and we're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start that exercise program. I'm going to have that uncomfortable conversation. I'm going to ask for that raise. I'm going to make that change in my relationship. I'm going to do all of these amazing things that I know I need, that I'm yearning to do, right? And you spend time and you think about it and it feels good. And then it comes that point where we now have to take that creativity, that desire, that yearning from our minds and into reality. And that's where we get stopped. That's when that fear blasts us, the doubt drenches us, and we kind of stop. Okay. So if reality can change, if we change, right? How do we? That's me fiddling with my tools again. If reality can change and does change according to how we see life, our perspective of life, the action that we take, how do we bridge that gap between, I've spent so many years hating reality. It's painful. It's something I just can't find myself being comfortable in. I'm not powerful in reality. I don't feel confident in reality. How do we start bridging that gap between being more entrenched in the reality of our life? Okay. So a good place to start is to choose a part of reality that you have been avoiding. And it could be in the realm of your relationships, your health, your success, your skills, your money, your goals. It's an area that we are uncomfortable with, and we refer to hope. And I've spoken about hope so many times. Hope is the bane of reality, of humanity. How do we bridge that? How do we stop cultivating the habit, right? The habit of being present and the habit of building up that confidence through experience. Remember, we only gain confidence when we do a task or an action over time, right? We gain the experience of doing it. And of course, we build confidence from that. So we have to gain experience in action. So ask yourself, what is most uncomfortable for you? Is it speaking your truth? Is it confrontation? Is it change? Is it fearing independence? There is definitely something that you are aware of. We are all aware of our vulnerability, and we not use that word because vulnerability is a good thing. But within this context, we are all aware of what part of reality hurts us the most. Okay, so I'm getting a thought now, like social, right? Feeling unloved, feeling unsupported, feeling lonely. Wow, that's a huge one right now with the pandemic and all the lockdowns and the isolation. But it goes deeper than that, And when I said earlier about what part of reality are you buying into? Are you buying into the idea that you are alone on this world? Because that's another little side thing that happens when we live all of our life in fantasy. We lose the connection. We lose the connection to reality, obviously, because we haven't spent that much time there. But we lose the connection to what reality represents. And reality represents people, right? And with people come that support, come that interaction, comes that ability to be vulnerable. When we lose that connection, we lose the connection to our own skills and our own experience, and therefore confidence, right? As an example, if you haven't ridden a bicycle in 20 years, The first time you get on a bike, you're going to feel shaky. You're going to feel like you're going to fall. You're going to be fearful. And the same thing happens when we lose the connection to reality. So we have to spend time building our relationship with reality. And I've spoken about this in part 1 of this topic. Again, you can watch the whole video on YouTube, where a really good, it's both the solution and the hindrance, and that is feeling. So the hindrance is, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be more present in my life. I'm going to build up connections with the people in my life. I'm going to learn to speak my truth. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to share my vulnerabilities, my shame. I'm going to take one tiny little step towards my goal, even if I'm afraid and I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm going to try, be more present, be more powerful, be more accountable in my own life, right? What happens is then we start feeling, and the feeling is like, and then of course it pushes us to go back. So where the feeling is the hindrance, right? It's also the solution, because it's just the feeling of reality that is stopping us from being in reality, right? Because reality is subjective. So if we can consciously decide to change our perspective of reality, our perspective of our feelings, excuse me, that is that first step. That is that bridge that we need. And it's all about action, guys. I can't even stipulate enough how important action is. And I'm just trying to think of that one movie. There's been quite a few of them where it's like an AI world, and we all live, like we just become these absolute blobs, and we're living through virtual reality, right? And our bodies deteriorate and our skills deteriorate, and we're just completely in an alternative reality. And it's not that far off, because a lot of people are living their lives in this zombie-like state, you know, going through the motions, wishing, fantasizing about this change. But it's based on hope, and there's no action to back it up. And I would say one of the greatest disasters is not the right word, but I'll go with it, that has ever plagued humanity is the belief that we are not powerful. And I understand that everything in the media and everything in our cultures and our religion is designed to reinforce that belief, that we are unable to change our circumstances, we are unable to change ourselves, we are unable to change our feelings, our experiences, and the quality of our life. And unfortunately, we are inundated. It's such a paradox. On the one hand, everything in our life is pushing us down, okay? Yet on the other hand, we have all of this incredible access to information and to tools and to shared creativity that we do with the internet, right? So with social media comes, you know what, you can do this, you can, you know, get rich quick and do this and do that, and overnight you will completely and utterly change your life, which again is another illusion and another contributor to what deteriorates our self-worth. Because reality can only be experienced through yourself. It can only be experienced through your mind, your body, your heart, and your emotions, right? That is where reality is experienced. And this belief that we are powerless, this belief that, I mean, you look at the caste system in India, many cultures have the caste system. What you get, you know, what you were born with is what you've got. That's it. Be grateful and move on. It's such a debilitating belief. And if you could work on one belief in your life, it's to know that reality is just, you see, reality is not personal. I think what we do is we tend to view reality as a personal affront to ourselves. What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong to deserve this? Why do other people seem to get it right? And karma hates me. The universe hates me. My family hates me. We've got this weird idea that reality is personally out to get us, and it's not. Reality is just that. And the thing is, there are a trillion different realities out there. all layered upon each other, you know. If you speak to, you know, I'm in South Africa, if I speak to somebody in Switzerland or America or Mexico or anywhere in the world, and I ask them what their reality is, it's utterly different to my own. So reality is not personal. It's not cruel. It's not any of these things that we have labeled. It just is what it is. The seasons change. Sometimes we have good weather. Sometimes we have bad weather. Sometimes people crash into you because they weren't concentrating, or they were drunk, or they were texting. There's a recession, and there's a pandemic. These things just happen. It's not out there to get you. And when we can kind of step back from it and go, you know what? And again, it's another duality. Like, I'm actually not that important. The whole universe, the whole of reality is not conspiring to ruin my life. When we can realize that, it becomes fun. Then you get to play. Then you get to go, well, hang on. If my reality is my personal little bubble of reality, that means I'm in charge of it, right? I'm the king of my own universe, king or queen of my own universe, which is really cool. Because when you can realize that, then you can start going, okay, so what is in my reality that I don't particularly like anymore? Because that's the thing, it changes every second of the day. And it's either going to change on the outside, as it does, events happen every single nanosecond of the day, and you're going to be this passenger kind of feeling like life is happening to you, or you're going to step into your own reality and go, well, I'm actually happening to life. Okay. So how can you happen to life? How can you construct your own life? How can you be comfortable with the reality that actually you have the power to construct? The answer is feeling and action, right? We have to feel what is happening and not take it so personally. And then take action. And the thing is, like I was saying about the social media and this promise of instant success and instant change, that's another part of reality that we have to accept doesn't exist. Okay. So I said earlier, you know, we have to have a realistic plan to work from. So we have to be realistic about the ingredients that we have to work with, and then we can start changing them. So as an example, if you are desiring to change your career or to increase your salary or anything along those lines, take a snapshot of your reality, right? It's called a reality check. Get a reality check. All right, am I lacking in knowledge? Am I lacking in skills? What are those things? Do I need to build my confidence? Do I need more soft skills, more hard skills? Is there a course that I can take? Can I speak to my boss about them possibly helping me learn further? There are so many options that you can take for yourself, right? But if we aren't looking at reality in all of its raw glory, then we are making ourselves powerless. And then, of course, we're going to believe it. So take that snapshot of reality. Decide first, what is that one area that you are avoiding most? Is it health? Is it your relationship? Is it your work, right? Whatever that area is, go, okay. And grab a piece of paper, get creative, okay? And say, right, I'm going to take a snapshot of this. What is this current reality? Overworked, underpaid. Okay. Not feeling confident. Okay. Not enjoying my coworkers. Okay. Industry's doing really well at the moment. Industry's booming. Okay. Growth opportunity, right? So you lay it all out, and then you can use that incredible creative brain, that incredible ability to fantasize. That's when that consciousness comes in. That's when we consciously use fantasy to get creative and to find solutions. Okay. And then we have to question ourselves, because remember, reality is subjective. And if you've been viewing your reality from a singular, entrenched, old, negative viewpoint and perspective, that's got to change. And the thing is, you can change it by conscious thought. That can happen instantly. All right. All right. So my boss, overworked, underpaid. All right. That's a reality. Fine. How else can you look at it? At what different angle can you approach that? Okay. Could you perhaps be more effective in time management? What can you do? Because remember, everything about living an awesome, amazing life is about personal accountability. And that's probably another, maybe even in part 3 of this topic, The other problem with retreating to fantasy is we are blameless in fantasy. It's everybody else's fault, right? And it's hard. It's hard to admit that we are lazy, that we've procrastinated, that we've wasted time, that we made wrong choices. Of course, it's hard. Nobody wants to admit that. And when we're in fantasy, none of that exists, right? It's everybody else's fault. The world happened to me. My ex happened to me. My parents happened to me. The industry happened to me. Okay, so let me check out the time quickly. All right, so let me pack this together for you guys. So number one, and contemplate this. Reality is just what it is. No, let me separate that for you. Events are what they are. It's not personal. No one's out to get you. Events just happen. Your viewpoint of these events, which is actually your reality that you are living, is 100% determined about how you view it. It is subjective. And within that subjectivity, you have power. When you're deciding to begin to take action, to take accountability for your life, that's where you need to be conscious and feel what is unfelt. Feel the discomfort and do it anyway, right? Because even the emotions themselves are subjective. And when we attach emotion to reality, we're just reinforcing the fact that reality sucks, right? So if you attach fear to confrontation, every time the event of confrontation comes up in your life, you've already lost the game, right? If you attach, why's disgust coming to mind? If you attach disgust to trying something new, people are entrenched in their ways, right? Or, excuse me, to listening to somebody else's point of view. It could be anything. Don't attach your emotion to events. Events just happen. Use your emotion to let you go, to help guide you to where you need to grow. Please go back to my previous videos on comfort zones. Emotions, I think it was actually healing. Yeah, it was one of the healing ones. Our emotions are a guide, and they're so true. They're so true. It's like if we are fearing something, if we are retreating from something, that's what we need to go into, right? And if something is becoming intolerable to us, it's because we need to change it, right? They're there to be our guidance system. So use the emotion to help you navigate more fully within the reality of your life. And, you know, just quickly going back to my personal relationship with reality and fantasy, like that was a big shift for me. And one day I'll do a video on all of the aha moments that really like set me on a new path throughout my life. And one of them was like I was like I wanted fantasy so badly, but I knew it was just making me weak, and I knew it was limiting me, right? And when I had to make that shift to reality of exactly what I've described now, I made it 58 minutes without having brain fog. Damn it. So if anyone's joining me for the first time to my channel or to the videos, I had COVID 2 months ago, and the brain fog was so real, and it's so much better. I mean, like 98% recovered, but every now and again, the brain fog hits. And you know what the worst part is I remember what I was going to say literally 4 days from. I'm like, that was why I was saying that. And then I think, you know what, I'll go back on the comments and I'll type in the reason why I was saying that. And then I don't remember that either. Anyway, if you would like to delve deeper into self-empowerment, into healing, into becoming powerful, right? Then head over to my website, soniakillik.com, and join me on the Miserable to Marvellous course. And we go through all of these on a really deep, intense level where you can really shift your relationship to reality, where you actually enjoy reality, because that's one thing I'm very happy to report back is, the good stuff happens in reality. And it's like a watercolor versus oil. Watercolor is a fantasy, and it's a rich, incredible, ever-changing, beautiful oil painting in reality. And I really hope that you make the brave decision to try it out. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Is it going to hurt? Yeah. Is it going to be wonderful? Yes. Yes, as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next Wednesday. Bye.